Now, appointment viewing on the weekend was that France-South Africa game. It was just a superb game. So much drama, so many things going on, really incredible decisions in Kolisi's 100th game around what happened after the red card. The game just had me enthralled throughout.
Yeah, it certainly lived up to the billing, didn't it? Especially when that red card happened. And it will go down as one of the more amazing victories from the Springboks. But, the French probably had it all their own way, really, in that first half. And the Springboks, I was intrigued with taking the penalties, but they were looking for that scoreboard pressure, and in the end that, was a big factor. But normally we've seen them go to that corner, but they almost wanted to just keep in touch and knew that what they had coming off the bench late in the game could ice it.
And boy, did it.
Oh, yeah. To me, it really confirmed, and especially that last try, Bryn, is the swing attacks the new way of drawing out defenders. From that midfield position, it's hard to bring that rush defence, and then when you sort of switch and you have that swing, you draw them out, and then if you can find that space. I think the art, Bryn, defensively twice, for Pernod's first try. But the art of always being engaged as a defender, both sides of the ball, has sort of been shown that at international rugby that teams are looking to do this switch a lot more. And if you button off on your side because you assume it's just going to keep going the same way, both sides sort of fell guilty to that on the weekend and both led to tries.
What I was so impressed with South Africa, you have the red card, and then I think anything from there, the substitutions and who was on the field for me was great. Like, I think who did they take off? I think they took off in that 48th minute. They took off Reinek in the 57th, Willemse in the 57th, Sia just after halftime, Ebenetz at 48th, and Delande at the 48th. And the game was in the balance going into the last 20, and they trusted that group to get the job done. So I think, it has confirmed, I think, for me that they are the best team in the world, because I think, look, to be able to score the tries, Feinberg's example, Grant Williams tried to be able to have the Nelson, I guess that impact of what he can bring off the bench. Esther Hayes' try, Jibba, I don't know about his technique, but geez, he looked powerful at the back of that line out more to be able to score in the 65th minute. So it just seems like they've got an answer for everything. It just seems it doesn't matter what scenario they're in. They were playing in France. It's a hostile crowd. Yes, I know they have had a lot of success over the year and the French haven't been able to beat them, but it's a very, very hostile environment. And with playing with 14 men, that whole match for that second half, it just for me confirmed that they are the best team in the world, and there's a little bit of chasing to do, I think, from the other teams in the world to have the ability to be able to get the results that the South Africa team is doing at the moment.
What did you make of the red card? I thought Angus Gardner's communication was amazing, but we do have the 20-minute red card available. So making the decision that it was, in fact, real foul play with some intent in it to get him off the field for the entire game, that's a bold decision.
It is a bold decision, but I think the right call was made. Like, whether there was definitely mitigating factors with the lower of height and falling down, but if you just look at the tackle technique, it's just shoulder straight to the head. So whether there is mitigating factors, I think it was a pretty good call. And I think Jager, to be honest, he's probably one of the better refs that is pretty good around understanding the harshness of, I guess, a yellow card. And so I think it was a pretty simple call for me. I know, obviously, our South African viewers won't be probably agreeing with that. I think a yellow card for 20 minutes or a red card for 20 minutes could be justified, but I think he just had no choice. It was a pretty easy decision, and the intent of what his shoulder was doing and the technique was pretty simple. So, Jim, you might feel a little bit around that, but I think the right call easily.
I always find these difficult. It's the first time I've ever seen a red card given for that foul play, the out-and-out full noise red card. I was surprised because I just think of it logically. Yes, tucked arm, get it. That's, foul play. But if he doesn't, he's not aiming for the head because the head wasn't where it was. Do you know what I mean? So for me, a full red card is like thuggery. To me, you've got to be aiming to target the head, neck area. And because of that drop of body height, I just felt, the yellow card off-field review, 20-minute red card probably was, more in line with what I'd seen with previous decisions. I think it's, I actually like refs making a call, and if he felt that way, then, so be it, and it didn't, I suppose, impact the result in the end because South Africa won. But I just don't know how it can be an out-and-out, malicious act when the person was in a total different space when he decided to tuck that shoulder.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
if he doesn't fall, he hits him in the guts.
Yeah.
And then it's probably just a penalty for a tuck shoulder.
But it's the technique. But it's the technique, though.
Yeah, but he's a tall. I felt like he was dropping his height. Yeah, the tuck shoulder. But like, Bryn, if someone goes out this weekend and tucks a shoulder and hits someone in the guts, I don't think that's going to be a yellow card review. It's going to be a penalty.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, from a context point of view, tuck shoulder, yes, yellow card, but the guy was in a total different, it happened like, I don't know, maybe I'm defending something, because I agree with the attitude around head collisions, and maybe this is a message saying that, as a defender,
pull out.
Yeah, you're literally, well, don't tuck your shoulder.
Yeah.
Is the message, probably, if we look at it. But, I just think for the purpose of the reason the 20-minute red card was brought in, I felt like it fitted that isolated incident.
We had an email from McCaw come through. Basically, he's a law enforcement officer in his career, and he was saying basically deliberate or accidental. That's where the line is. I don't think that there's actually a deliberate or accidental line. Personally, there's a lot of grey.
Not in rugby.
There's a lot of grey. How do you decide what's deliberate? How do you decide what's reckless? It's just difficult, isn't it, Bryn?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. But I think for me personally, when I saw it and when I heard that call, I was just like, okay, what would I think around that being a really red card? Yes, there's a mitigating factor, but with what I saw, the shoulder to the head and just the no wrap, or the ability to be able to get your hands up to go towards the target, even if it was going to be into the gut. And we know, Drip, anytime you want to put yourself into a bit of trouble when you're going to hit the head with any form of bad technique, you're going to get yourself in a situation where it might be a yellow card that's up to a red card, or you get yourself into Untitled Chapter on the weekend. It was a red card for the rest of the second half.
I mean, we watch a lot of rugby and we can't agree that's how hard it is.
There's two kinds of red cards.
Yeah,
that's the most rugby thing in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, but I like it. Yeah. I like it, because I've never seen the full red card since it's been in play. But it does mitigate anyone thinking someone gets off lightly with the 20-minute red card, and I think the 20-minute red card's important. So I like the current process, and I like that Gardner made the call. I'm just saying, on reflection, I'm not debating it should be a 20-minute red card.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it maybe not a full.
Yeah. I do think it's worth saying that Angus Gardner is an outstanding referee. He adds to the game. He adds to your experience. It's like he understands that I'm sitting there wanting to know what's going on. He's so eloquent and so precise and quite affable in the way that he deals with things.
I like how he moves on as well, because, and I was guilty of this as a player, is once you get a little inkling, you almost want to have a little bit more of a discussion if it hasn't gone your way. But it's like, no, decision made, that's why, move on. I quite like how he just keeps things going. But yeah, I still think it was, put the red card aside, the Springboks tackled at 80%, and I just, to go back to their defence, I think it's a great picture of how stats don't tell the full picture, because a rush defence is going to leak, you are going to have, but if you've got a strong rush defence with scramble defence, you can survive. So at 80%, it looks like, they've had a bad defensive day. But if you look at Pernod's second try, where Fiku goes out the back to Intermark, Intermark does the face ball across Barry, I think, the left winger, to Ramos. But if you watch from there, they rush, but from that drone, geez, I'm enjoying the drone angle. But that drone angle, you just see 6 Springbok jerseys and Pernod.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's that rush defence, but then the energy and the commitment to that system to then go, they didn't stop him, but they got close. You know, like but there was 6, 7 Springbok jerseys trying to get there. And I think that is the best reflection, I think, from a statistical point of view and winning a game is how Rush D can, you know, I suppose, paint a poor picture statistically, but actually be very efficient in terms of the scoreboard.
Brendan, before we let you go, we've had an email come through from Jack Ashby, and he's been talking about the comparisons made between Sia Kolisi, as he hit his 100th test, and Richie McCaw, obviously both 2-time Rugby World Cup winning captains. And people are now saying, is Sia Kolisi up with Richie McCaw, even above Richie McCaw as far as GOAT status is concerned, considering what he's achieved? As a Kiwi, that's a tough one to take, but what do you think?
Very, very tough one there, Ross. Very, very tough. Look, I think anytime we do talk about the GOAT discussion, we've talked about, we use Sasha Feinberg as a perfect example with Dan Carter. He's more so probably the potential-wise. I've been able to hopefully maybe get there for someday if you're a South African fan, but what Sia's body of work is, I think he's there or thereabouts to be able to be put in that discussion. Like, He's captained his country to 2 World Cups. He's won rugby championships. I can imagine that he's played a lot of games to be able to be classed as consistent, to be on the field. And I think what he has done, and this is probably a little bit bigger more than what Richie McCaw does, he's united a country. Not only him, but this golden age of South African rugby. They have kind of united South Africa again. From all the messages that you hear, from all the kind of words coming in from South Africa, they play for South Africa. So it's kind of got that Nelson Mandela 1995 feel there. They brought a country together. They talk about their country and how much they love their country. So I think on a bigger scale of the world, I think what Sia has done is probably a little bit more than what Richie McCaw's done, just for the fact of the South Africa country and what they have done. So I think to answer your question, Ross, be very interested to see what Jipper thinks in and around that. But I think, look, the body of work, the longevity-wise, he's done it, been captain, winning 2 World Cups, winning rugby championships, playing for a long amount of time, and what he's done for South Africa on a whole in a world stage, he's definitely up in that conversation for me.
I don't think it really matters when you come on and off the field, because I just think I see every week as 7 days. The test match is one of those days. So definitely, like, man, he's clearly got an amazing ability to lead others to great things. But I also think he'd be uncomfortable with this conversation, like, based on everything we've seen, is he doesn't want it to be about Sia Kolisi being bigger than South Africa. Rusty certainly doesn't. It's about, South Africa is the biggest thing. And I feel this conversation's just probably too early until you retire. And I think he's probably got more that he wants to achieve. He probably wants another World Cup. So it's more a watch this space. Like, Richie McCaw's always going to be a GOAT. Johnny Wilkinson's always going to be a GOAT. Dan Carter, it's pretty hard to say there's one pinnacle GOAT. Like, I mean, just look at the NBA. He will be there. Yeah. He's definitely going to be on the Mount Rushmore. Like, the guy's captain to multiple World Cup winning performances. But yeah, I think he's doing more than enough. I don't think it's based on minutes to make that decision, I suppose, to answer that question.
So wait until he retires and then we'll know.
I think he's a GOAT. Yeah. Like, I just think it's pointless saying Richie versus Sia, because then you're going, oh, okay, well, what about Johnny? What about John Schmidt? Like, it becomes endless. Yeah. I think as individuals, they're both GOATs. Yeah. They're both going to be up in lights. I'm not trying to avoid it. It's just very hard. It's very hard to say, oh, Richie's more. It's just, we still have the argument of Richie over Michael Jones, Jonah Lomu. Like, it's endless. I just find it's, you're never going to get an answer.
Yeah, but we'll certainly try to have the conversation. Brendan, we've got to let you go to training, mate. Thank you very much for joining us once again all the way from Japan, and we'll see you next week.
See you, boys.
Speaking of GOAT conversations, GOAT scrums. The South African scrum is outrageous.
Yeah. For me, like, the French scrum is super, super solid. If there was ever a team that was going to have parity at least, for me it was the French. But the way it was dismantled, and you could just see the way, the focus, and what it means to the South African side, and just the ability to get themselves out of trouble. Like, it's a absolute weapon, especially when you're down to 14, to be able to go to something that can piggyback yourself out of trouble. I'm not probably like smiling because, like a lot of heat came on the All Blacks during the rugby championship, but I do think this is a massive sign that there's a big gap between the Springboks scrum and the rest of the world.
Yeah. One of the things that's so interesting is the way that they attack on a defensive scrum. Is there a huge difference in the way that you're approaching it? I mean, bar obviously the hooking of the ball and the feed from your team. Is there a huge difference in the way that you approach attacking a defensive scrum as opposed to attacking as an attacking scrum?
Yeah, it really depends where you are on the field. You've got to be careful because if you don't get it right, it can leave you defensively, especially in terms of those edges between the backs and the forwards. But when you've got that sort of dominance, they can probably do it from anywhere. So I suppose for them, the biggest difference is, and I know this sounds silly, but you're primed and ready to go, and all 16 feet are on the ground, which is massive, but it's also the timing of transferring that go is united from the 8 through to the 2. And I think that's where the Springboks are just, streets ahead in terms of that timing, but the force of 8 versus the force of maybe 5, then the loosies. Like, it's really driven by Visa at the back, and I suppose the focus of the loosies, whether it's Peter Steff or Sia Kolisi or whoever's there, Quagga Smith, is, that they're giving information to the tight 5, we're going, whether it be verbal or, with certain tensing of the shoulder or the bind. So to me, there is a difference. And when you've got that sort of strength, the opposition is trying to just hook and go, which creates them quite unstable. So you've got to have the dominance to do it, I think, is probably what I'm trying to say.